So, Mark, here we are. We've just had a look at the rabbit,
Yeah,
and it is now complete.
it's done.
And we're now looking at obviously how we're going to get it out there into the world and
Yeah.
so on. I first wrote this story as part of a course I did, and it was originally written for radio. This must have been in 19, dare I say it?
It's older than me, isn't it?
It's older than you. And it's just been lying there. It's always been dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I thought maybe one day I'd make it. And then you come along and you know, we've worked together, and then I see your life and I see the kind of things you're interested in, the kind
Yeah.
of films you've made. And I just felt so good about handing it over to you
Yeah.
and kind of just letting you run with it.
You offered it me, the script, about 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, I want to make this next. And I don't know what happened, but it kept sort of lingering in the background. And then I really felt like I needed to push it more recently because I'd gone through a bit of a breakup myself. I thought, I've got to make this now. And I think it helps when you've gone through something. I don't think it's always essential that you've gone through it, but I think when you have gone through it, it helps you to sort of bring that story to life to a certain extent. I can totally see myself in it. So it's, even though I didn't write it, I feel like it feels really personal to me, and I think it sits within my filmography nicely. It took quite a long time for me to figure out how to actually do this. Like, from a technical standpoint, it's bloody hard shooting in a car. Like, and I've said now, never again.
That's what you said after The Raven on the Jetty. Never shooting in a car again.
It's horrible. It is horrible because you scrunched up on the back seat. Even this week, I've had someone painting out my face because it cropped up in a shot. I mean, it just can't be helped. In an ideal world, I guess you'd pull the car, but I really think you'd probably lose something in terms of the actor's performance by doing that. It's better to have them driving. I don't know why it suddenly hit me, like thinking of like action cams, because as we discovered, it's hard to shoot on a DSLR in a car, and I thought that's the way to go. You can buy little mounts for £30. You can put it in any position, sucks onto the windscreen. I can use the iPad to press record on the GoPro, so I'm in the back seat watching the performance on the GoPro. You can get wide enough, which is always an issue in a car. Once I had that sort of eureka moment, I knew that I could make it. The only other two issues that I had technically was then how far I could push the GoPro at night. So I realised that I had a sort of finite amount of time every evening. As it's a journey, I needed to make sure that the light sort of progressed, that it looked like it was getting darker, and I think I've managed to do that. And then the only other thing other than that was bloody difficult was figuring out how I was going to get these animals working.
From a sort of storytelling point of view, you know, visual storytelling point
Yeah.
of view, what were the kind of main challenges you faced, you know, in terms of getting the story across and the theme across in terms of your visual approach?
The main sort of idea I hit up on visually in terms of telling this story was this idea of separation. So we start by framing them together, and as the film progresses, we sort of gradually separate them. And also the camera work becomes quite looser as it goes along. It sort of becomes a bit more documentary almost. But visually as well, like in terms of this idea that the sun's setting on their relationship, sort of literally, but also metaphorically, they're coming to the end to a certain extent. I mean, there's times where I've put in a few homages to Eric. Obviously, like there's a few shots where I think I'll leave that lingering just a little longer for Eric. When they're first off the road, I think that's the longest time I've ever held on a shot. It's probably.
I mean, you did most of the jobs yourself. You did, you know, the producing, the
Produced,
directing.
directed, shot it, graded it,
Yeah.
did the sound design.
Yeah.
Just a few other people have helped out along the way. So sort of Stuart Samuels, Darren Scott's helped, Ian Hood, and then we had a few other people helping out like John Abbott, Alex Gilbert, a few other people, but I did most of it myself.
You had a couple of wonderful actors. Do you want to say a little bit about who they are?
We had Harris Matthews as Peter, and we had Tony Sherwood-Pierce, and I think they've both done such an amazing job. I think their performances are brilliant. It must be weird because you wrote the script and now you see two faces.
Well, look, I mean, it's wonderful again for me to see, you know, some actual faces, some actual people in those roles. It brings it alive.
Yeah.
And I always remember the Robert Bresson quote about the process of filmmaking. You know, he says, you know, first you have an idea in your head and it's alive. and then you write it down on a piece of paper in the form of a script, and it dies. Then you have your actors in front of your camera, and it comes alive again. And then you see the rushes in post-production, and it dies. And then once you start editing it together, it starts to come alive again. And what do you feel then, what do you hope, when you think it's now going to go out there, people are going to see it? What kind of things do you hope people might be thinking about?
I really hope that they get that sense at the end of loss and sort of heartbreak. As you grow older, you might have been with someone from a very young age, but as you get older, you sort of drift apart and you want different things. And I think at the end it was important to get that sense that the dream's absolutely been obliterated.
In one fateful moment.
Yeah. He put his money on the wrong girl.
That's an interesting way of putting it. It's perhaps worth reminding everybody that this is the first film that One Day Films would have made that I haven't directed, and so this is the first stage, hopefully in a new development for One Day Films, and I think it's a wonderful first step for us. This is the kind of filmmaking that I'm really interested in. So in another way, this fits in with the ethos of One Day Films: micro budget, independent, low key, low scale. Stories that are important stories for people to tell, and this is about independence, it's about quality, it's about stories that have a kind of essence to them.
It's such an honour because you were obviously my lecturer when I was doing my MA back in 2006-07, and obviously we are almost 10 years later. And now I've been, not only have I worked on your feature film, but you've offered me the opportunity to direct the first non-Eric Knudsen directed One Day Films production.
Yeah. Well, listen, folks. Can one end like this?
We are doing. This is how we're ending it.
The Rabbit is coming to a screen near you very soon. And we're looking very much forward to seeing what
we're going to submit some festivals, and then it'll be available online and obviously on onedayfilms.com. See you soon.
See you soon.